6, 2020. It's 5 o'clock. Again, this is available on YouTube and it'll be available on local channel 16 tomorrow night. First item is the public hearing, the Neighborhood Assistance Act. Public hearing ground rules. A public hearing has been scheduled to allow interested citizens an opportunity to express their opinions regarding the proposed 2020 Neighborhood Assistance Act. Roll call, please. Suzanne.
Stefan.
Suzanne, roll call, please.
We're out of paper.
It's okay. Thanks.
Mike, while we're waiting for Suzanne, I think I can comment that actually the public hearing basically was already conducted online in accordance with the governor's emergency executive orders. No public comments were heard. So I think basically first, before we do the roll call and start the actual meeting, you can just indicate for the record that we received. Right. It looks like it's right, but it precedes it.
All right.
And actually, the
No
public
worries.
hearing
All right.
has already occurred. The last
So-
meeting, we had the presentation on the Assistance Act. So I think we simply state the public hearing was held in accordance with the law. There were no public comments received, and we just now proceed to roll call.
All right. Due to COVID-19 public health emergency and pursuant to Governor Lamont's executive orders, public comment on a proposed Neighborhood Assistance Act was received by written testimony only. Electors or taxpayers submitted comments to an email address dedicated to receiving public comment to the 2020 Neighborhood Assistance Act, phcomments@enfield.org. All comments received are posted on the town's website under Town Council. The town received 0 public comments concerning the Neighborhood Assistance Act. Moving on to the regular meeting. Item number 1, roll call, please, Suzanne.
Deb and Paul, is Suzanne on?
That's why we're waiting for Suzanne to get connected.
Okay.
While we're waiting, I just wanted to ask a question. Are we looking to approve all these minutes from back in March? Is that?
We're just
is that-
gonna do, yeah, we're just gonna do one motion to approve them all.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, I think I'm correct when Suzanne gets on. I think that we can just take the roll call. I'll take the roll and then we'll proceed to do the motion
Sure.
for minutes. This is being recorded. I don't think that the clerk has to do it. So I would proceed to number 1. Mr. Mayor, please take the roll call of members of the council
Sure.
present this evening.
I'll do it very simply, left to right. Counselor Keiner,
4.
Counselor Sakala,
Here.
Counselor Mangini,
Here,
Counselor Riley,
Here.
Counselor Sferrazza,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
Here.
Counselor Muller,
Here.
Counselor Ungary,
here,
Counselor Hemler,
Here.
Counselor Bosco,
Here.
and Counselor Ludwig is here. 11 present, 0 absent. Move on to the meeting minutes of preceding meetings from March 2nd, regular and special, April 15th and 22nd, May 6th, May 13th.
Public
May
hearing
20th.
first.
We already had it. Move June 1st and June 15th. Do I have a motion to approve all by
Second.
Counselor Mangini, second by Counselor Muller? Any deletions, additions, corrections to any of the minutes? Hearing none by a roll call, please say aye. Aye.
aye,
Any
Aye.
against? Abstention. So 11 in favor and 0 against. We'll move on to item 3, special guests, Kerma and USI, and I will turn it over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, members of the council. Several months ago, we endeavored, and it was through our broker USI, which handles our insurance matters, to go out and look in the insurance market in Connecticut and see if we could get a bid for our insurance. We do pay a large premium each year for insurance. And although our prior carrier was doing an excellent job, given the size and scope of the premium, I thought it only prudent, despite the fact that our previous carrier was doing an excellent job, that it was incumbent to go out, just given the premium that's in the millions of dollars, to see what the market had to hold, that would be available out there. There are limited carriers in Connecticut that write this insurance, and this is for our workers' compensation and for our general liability. They call it liability and property and casualty. It is separate and apart from our healthcare insurance. But Chris Wardrop of USI, our broker, did this for us over the last several months, and we got, as I shared with the council, basically our previous carrier's premium cost, and we also received one from Kerma. Kerma is on the line. They were the successful bidder. We switched all of our insurance, as I apprised council, on July 1st to the Kerma agency. They're online to make a short presentation. We welcome them to the town. We were with Kerma. They exclusively write insurance for the cities and towns and boards of education in Connecticut. We were a founding member for many, many years. And like we just did several years ago, Matt Copper went out and he found what he thought was a better fit for us. And we had switched, and we are now coming home to Kerma, and they're coming home to us. We're very happy with the presentation they made. All of our staff endorsed the move, both John Wilcox from finance, also Steve Belinda from HR, because they basically have to administer our workers' compensation claims for our employees with the carrier, so they were a conduit. And also Chris Drezick from the Board of Education, because they are a co-equal partner and covered under Kerma for our same coverages. He heartily endorsed the switch. And without further ado, we have representatives from Kerma on the line, and I will turn it over to them to identify themselves. They're going to make a short presentation, and we welcome them to the town of Enfield.
Thank you very much, Town Manager Bromson. I'm Ashley Rita. I'm the senior underwriter on the Enfield account. I want to thank you all for taking the time to have me. I really appreciate it. And as Town Manager Bromson said, we're very happy to have one of our founding members, Tolman, back where you belong with Kerma. I'm going to try to be very mindful of everyone's time tonight. I provided you with a little PowerPoint presentation a couple of weeks ago. So I'm just going to go over some of the highlights of where Kerma is now today and some of the benefits that we're looking forward to providing the town. I welcome any questions at all, so please feel free to interrupt. And with that, we'll get started. I hope everybody had a lovely holiday weekend. As I said, I want to thank Town Manager Bromson, Assistant Town Manager Porciello's support, finance, HR. We've really, had a lot of conversations and dialogue leading up to this. And like I said, I'm really, really happy that we're able to partner together again. As one of our founding members, Enfield knows that Kerma's mission is to provide our municipalities with stability, predictability, and accountability, especially during such volatile times. We're very, very pleased to offer the town a guaranteed cost workers' compensation program that will not be audited. So it will be audited, but there won't be any premium bearing changes. So what the pay-in is at the beginning of the term is what the financial responsibility will be for the fiscal year. So that again just sort of attests to Kerma's stability and predictability for our membership. We know that budgets are very tight, and given the current pandemic, everything is sort of up in the air. So we're here for you. We're member owned, we're member governed. We live in your communities, and we really want to support you the best way we can. We have a lot of committees that are made up of representatives of our pools, both workers' compensation and LAP. Our board of directors are all elected and appointed officials of the Kerma pool. We have a claims advisory committee, operations and underwriting committee, risk management advisory committee, to name a few. And what these committees do and the interaction that it allows us to have with our membership is that it gives Kerma the opportunity to stay relevant and current in the community and hear what you guys have to say so we can continue to adapt. One of the things Kerma prides itself on is our unmatched rate stability. I know Chris Wardrop can attest to this, but year over year, Kerma has been able to provide relatively level rates over the years, so we don't follow market fluctuations. Again, it's very important for us to maintain our financial strength and do our due diligence to maintain the success of the pool. We have extremely broad coverages that, again, are tailored specifically to municipalities. We cover a wide array of exposures. We have meaningful consultative engagement with risk management, and part of the onboarding process, we're sort of already doing that. We've gotten claims involved to onboard, and risk management will be reaching out to the executives in the town also, so we can identify what your priorities are, where you want to see improvement, and then we also look at the loss trends and make recommendations on where we think we can help your losses improve also. Our strength, Kerma, as of last year, had $79.1 million in net earned premium. We have 98% member retention and 88% market share in the state. So although we only do insurance in one state, we really are the specialists. We have the market share, and again, we really try to stay relevant and in communication with our membership. Our strong financial position, even during these volatile market conditions, is evidenced by our member equity distribution. So for those of you who are not aware of what that is, it's a 3-year cycle. And basically what happens is once Kerma evaluates its excess and surplus and makes sure we have, enough financial backing to maintain catastrophic losses, what we have, we give back to our community. So this year we're actually returning $2 million across both workers' compensation pools to our membership. So we're really, really happy to give back to our communities, especially during a time like this. One of the big differences in Kerma from 2014 to when you joined us again now is that we have a really cohesive enterprise approach of how we handle our membership. So instead of claims being a separate silo and risk management being a separate silo, we're all working together, and you have a single point of contact through me, through Chris Wardrop at USI, who is a great partner of Kerma. Thank you, Chris. And again, it's the whole point is to take this holistic approach to make sure that your claims are being addressed timely, your risk management trainings are being completed, any underwriting or claims questions, coverage questions you have. The whole point is to make the transition and the access as easy as possible. And again, like I said, with one point of entry. A couple of coverages that I spoke of earlier that are very broad, and perhaps Chris can attest to this. We're seeing some changes in the commercial marketplace as respects to sexual abuse, molestation, and harassment. We have full coverage for that. Limited coverage, but it's much broader than the rest of the marketplace, and that goes up to the full 10 million in excess capacity that you have. It's full follow form. We also provide sewer backup coverage, downstream exposure, neurodegenerative injuries. So we have a lot of very, very tailored coverages that we've identified that our communities need. So, again, we like to keep that dialogue open and work with you to really understand what's important to you and how Kerma can serve your community. As a non-for-profit organization, that's what we're here for, and that's our ultimate goal. Does anybody have any questions?
Ashley, I would just like to interject. Thank you for the brief but very informative presentation. I would just like to say for everybody and those folks at home that Kerma stands for Connecticut Interlocal Risk Management. It is made up and comprised of the member towns and cities of which we are now a member. And as she said, we spread the risk out when times are good. they have enjoyed, I think, almost every year for the last 30 years in giving a rebate at an annual event to the member cities and towns. And we certainly hope to be part of that next year. I will tell you, they are experts in Connecticut. My dad used to like to say the bird sings sweet because it sings one song. And I'm very happy, as she said, that they are experts because they only transact business in the state of Connecticut. So they certainly are experts in our state. I will tell you also, I don't want to be crass, but I think it's important for everybody to know the substantial savings that we realize, not only in the dollar value, but we're getting an incredible product. We're getting the gold standard of coverage as we had enjoyed for many decades. But I will tell you that comparing our last carrier to this carrier, because carriers look at frequency and severity, they have to look at our track record, our loss history. So we were in a plan where we had high deductible plan so that they didn't pay every single dollar. And what Ashley alluded to, we're not going to get into the weeds, but each year they would look back, they would charge us our premium. They would then do an audit. And in any given year, they could come back after we paid the premium and submit a bill to John and the Board of Ed in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Very difficult to budget with that uncertainty. Because we take safety so very seriously in the town with our safety boards and our committees that we have, and the executive committee that I personally chair, that we have a good track record now over the last several years. So our severity and frequency is down, which enabled us to be eligible with KRMA for, they call it the cost guarantee program. So I'm just going to let you know what the numbers are so everybody knows the stark contrast, that if we had gone with a high deductible plan that we currently have, we would have saved $600,000 a year. But John and I and Steve were a little more frugal and a little more conservative. We opted, with consultation with leadership, and we shared the quotes with the council, to go with the cost guarantee program at a savings of $300,000. But it can be much more than that. As Ashley alluded to, we pay our premium like you do for your house and your car. You pay it. It may be a little painful, but you can forget it. Whatever claims you have during the year, they cover it. Likewise, for the town now, we don't have to worry or have trepidation at the end of the year that there will be an audit, that we will have higher than normal claims and workers' compensation, all of a sudden get a bill for $250,000. Chris Drezick of the Board of Ed is particularly happy with that, as is John Wilcox. And again, we didn't sacrifice quality. We've got an incredible product, and I'm very happy to say at a remarkable cost savings, especially in these uncertain times. And with that, Ashley, I will let the council take you up on your offer. If they have any questions, please proceed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Ashley. Appreciate it. Again, we'll go left to right. Councilor Keiner,
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Councilor Sakala,
I'm all set, thank you.
Councilor Mangini.
Thank you. Ashley, that was a very nice presentation, and welcome back home. I was on the board at one time, the KRMA board. Very proud to have been a member of the board, and I will speak on what our town manager just referred to as the excellent quality that our town did receive from KRMA, and I'm very, very pleased that we're back. I've always supported KRMA, and thank you again. We're very much looking forward to working with you.
Thank you. We're very happy to support you in your community.
Thank you, Councilor Riley.
I don't have any questions, thanks.
Councilor Speraza.
Yes, Mayor, I have just one question. Ashley, thank you for the presentation. Very informative. Just real quick though, because our police department is one of the very few police departments that hold national accreditation through CALEA. I know that throughout the country, some insurance carriers make an adjustment, or even they discount it a little because the policies that need to be put in place are. Is there anything like that for us with KRMA?
So there isn't a set discount, so to speak, for having a CALEA accreditation, but that is something that I take into consideration during the overall underwriting process. So I do consider, what sort of trainings, accreditations, credentials, safety procedures you have in place, and that whole culture of safety. And again, Town Manager Bromson said that there's really been an improvement of losses over the recent years. So that commitment and that dedication is taken into consideration as part of the overall pricing program. But like I said, there's no actual formula. If you're accredited, you get 3%, but I do contemplate that in the overall underwriting process.
Which would result in some type of reduction when you factor it in. Because
Exactly.
And as you're well aware, because of the CLIA certification, our policies are up to date. The training is all documented, and it has to be for CLIA. So I'm very happy you're familiar with that. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Peraza. Deputy Mayor Suzak.
All set, thank you.
Councilor Muller.
No questions, thank you.
Councilor Ungary.
No questions, thank you.
Councilor Hemler. Councilor Hemler. Councilor Bosco.
All set.
And I'm all set as well. Again, Ashley, thank you very much for being here tonight. We appreciate the presentation. Any closing words?
No, just want to thank you again and say I'm really, really looking forward to working with the town and the board to serve the community and help in any way we can. We're thrilled to have you back.
Thank you very much. We appreciate being back. And again, thank you very much for the presentation and being here tonight.
I appreciate the invite.
You have a good night. Appreciate it.
You too. Thank you all. Take care.
Take care. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
Mr.
Moving
Mayor,
right
I
on
will
to-
just
Go right ahead.
I will just comment too, at the last meeting, there was a question. I am trying to incorporate a system with John and our Munis so that any and all contracts will come up on a regular basis so we can be assured that we are going out when they expire, that renewals are done, and that we will also have an ability to look at those. And as I said, in this circumstance, even though we were receiving excellent service from the past carrier, it's always, I think, appropriate every few years to go out and look and try to get a new quote and see if there's a better deal for the town. And I will just state that the sewer billing RFP went out and is scheduled to be open July 15th, as well as a number of others that are going to be coming in, and we'll keep you apprised.
All right, thank you. Item 4, consent agenda, discussion resolution transfer of funds for development service for 2,500. This is just to for the consultant helped us with the 60 garden plots. Again, it's a consent agenda, pretty straightforward. By a show of hands or ayes, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? Abstentions? 11 in favor and 0 against. We move right on to appointments. Number 5, Town Council, the JFK School Renovation Building Committee. Again, moving a alternate up to for a full-time member. Do I have a nominee?
Yes, I'd like to nominate David Costa.
Nomination made. Second made.
Second.
Do I have a motion to close nominations?
So moved.
By Councilor Muller.
Second.
By Councilor Deputy Mayor Suzak. All those in favor of closing nominations by show of hands or say aye, excuse me, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? 11 in favor, 0 against of closing nominations. Any discussion on the main motion?
I have a question,
Sure.
Mayor Mike, if I may. I just want clarification. With this appointment and again with the next 2 following, these are all reappointments. Is that correct?
Right, so the first one is just they're moving the alternate up to the regular and the other 2 are reappointments, correct?
Okay, so does that mean there's going to be a vacancy for an alternate at some point?
Correct. Usually that comes directly from the JFK committee. They'll let us know. Yep.
Okay, and again, could you clarify that? Because I'm not familiar with that process. Why is a committee making a recommendation to council?
Because right at this point, they're so far ahead of the project, they're looking for specific expertise on the committee, that they may need or may not have currently on a committee.
And how do they search for this person?
I don't know. You'd have to, we can ask the committee.
I'm just curious because I'm not familiar with this process.
It was a similar process how the Enfield High committee went.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Suzanne, roll call, please. Or Chris, is Suzanne unable to join?
I would defer to Paul. I haven't heard a peep from her, and obviously it's difficult to communicate, but I would imagine if she's not piping up.
So I can Hi, Suzanne.
You will receive the salary for the town clerk this evening, Mr. Mayor.
I believe Suzanne has joined via
Hi,
phone now.
Suzanne, you do it much better than I.
Yeah, well, I'm on the phone, but you can't hear me apparently.
We hear you now.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, let's go then.
Welcome,
Welcome,
Suzanne.
Suzanne.
Thank you.
The best
All
town
right.
clerk. Go right ahead.
Counselor Bosco,
4.
Counselor Sakala,
David Costa.
Counselor Hemler,
4.
Counselor Keiner,
4,
Mayor Ludwig,
4.
Counselor Mangini,
David Costa,
Counselor Muller,
4.
Counselor Riley,
4.
Counselor Sferrazza,
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
David Costa.
and Counselor Ungary.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Thank you, Suzanne. Moving on to item B, the Inland Wetland and Water Source Agency. The term of Kevin Zorda expired on 6/30/2020. This is a reappointment. Do I have a nomination, please?
Yes, Kevin Zorda.
Kevin Zorda
Second.
by Counselor Muller, seconded by Counselor Riley. Do I have a motion to close nominations?
Motion to close.
By
second,
Deputy Mayor Suzak, seconded by Counselor Sakala. All those in favor of closing nominations, just say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions? The nomination is closed. Any discussion on the main motion, the reappointment of Kevin Zorda? Seeing none, roll call, please, Suzanne.
Counselor Bosco,
4.
Counselor Sakala,
4.
Counselor Hemler,
4.
Counselor Keiner,
4,
Mayor Ludwig,
4.
Counselor Mangini,
Kevin Zorda,
Counselor Muller,
4.
Counselor Riley,
4.
Counselor Sferrazza,
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
Kevin Zorda.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Thank you, Suzanne. Again, item C of appointments, North Central Health District Board of Directors, Enfield Representative. The term of Shannon Grant expired on 6/30/2020. This would be a reappointment. Do I have a nomination, please?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Shannon Grant.
By Counselor Muller,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Mangini. Do I have a motion to close nominations?
Motion to close.
Deputy Mayor
Second.
Suzak, seconded by Counselor Riley. All those in favor say aye.
He's not gonna give you
Aye.
any credit today for Charlotte.
Sorry. All right. Nominations
on
are
mute.
closed. Any discussion on the main motion? Hearing none, roll call, please, Suzanne.
Counselor Bosco,
4.
Counselor Sakala,
Shannon Grant.
Counselor Hemler,
4.
Counselor Keiner,
4,
Mayor Ludwig,
4.
Counselor Mangini,
Shannon,
Counselor Muller,
4.
Counselor Riley,
4.
Counselor Sferrazza,
4.
and Deputy Mayor Suzak,
Shannon Grant.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Thank you, Suzanne. We move on to item 6. Discussion resolution to authorize issue and sell town of Enfield general obligation refunding bonds. I am asking for the waiver of the reading by someone. Unless you would like me to.
I
make Waive the reading.
reading.
Second by Counselor Riley. Am I close?
No, she didn't say anything, but we'll give it to her.
Sorry, again, sorry about that. Nothing, not intentional. Chris, I mean, this is good news. So I'll turn it over to you and or John to talk about hopefully what, again, is might be some savings because of, our solid bond rating. Uh-oh. Did I lose anybody? Chris, you on, Chris? You're on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
No problem, sir.
This basically, again, is due to consultation with John Wilcox and our review of a matter that was closed and we could have let lie. These were general obligations bonds issued in August of 2014 relating solely to the Roads 2010 project. And basically, we waive the reading of the information because it's a complex area, but what I liken it to is a refinance. We're basically going back to revisit. These were $25 million in bonds that we put out there. We think we can take advantage, and after consultation with our financial advisor and our bond counsel, Matt Ritter, who is going to address you in a moment, we believed, and they acted in a very expeditious manner. Susan Karen, our financial advisor, and Matt Ritter worked through the weekend to get this resolution so we could have a call. And basically, we're going to go out and try to get better, and we think we will. We believe we'll get at a minimum of $600,000 in savings by going out and getting lower interest rates on these bonds. So again, it's one of those things that we try to constantly review. And this is something we after consultation with our experts, thought that we really might be able to make a significant savings in expenditure. So it's before you for that action. I would turn over to Matt Ritter just to give a little more of a legalese overview than my simplistic one.
Welcome, Mr. Ritter. You have the floor, sir. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks to the council, and thanks, Chris, and to John. I mean, Chris, you hit it on the head. The only thing that I would add, I think the reason why John and Chris in particular wanted me on this call was these are going to be issued on a taxable basis. And so what does that mean? The bottom line is the market has moved a lot because of COVID-19. And so normally when the town issues its bonds and refunding bonds for that matter, we do them on a tax exempt basis. So if you buy the bonds, the interest that you earn, you don't owe federal or state income taxes on it, right? That's the general rule. Because the markets are so different in this day and age, taxable rates, the rate has come way down as well. So normally we'll see a tax exempt rate and a taxable rate have a pretty large spread of maybe 100 basis points. So you wouldn't save as much money if you issued your bonds on a taxable basis because they're more expensive. Under the new market, when they did the review, the financial advisors, they found that by refunding the 2014 bonds, even on a taxable basis, you're still probably going to save over $500,000. So in the resolution, you'll notice something in section 6, and that's really the only thing that's unique to this deal, that authorizes the issuance of these bonds on a taxable basis. In my years of working with Enfield, I can't recall us doing a taxable deal. But again, the bottom line is you're doing it to save money, and the rates have allowed it. So that's kind of the one funky thing I wanted to point out, Mr. Mayor, and glad to take any questions.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And again, I know it's so I'll go from left to right. Councilor Kiner, any questions?
No, it's kind of hard to vote against the eloquence of Mr. Ritter. So I have no questions. Thank you.
It sounds like an objection. It sounds like an objection to me. Sorry, Councilor Sakala.
I don't think I have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mangini.
I'm good.
Councilor Riley.
So if the market swings back, then do we have the option to switch that from taxable to non-taxable?
So no, there's no way to issue these bonds on a tax exempt basis because their call date is a few years out. But in the resolution, and this is how the deal is going to be structured most likely, is we're going to do a negotiated sale as opposed to competitive. So what do I mean by that? Normally when we sell your bonds and notes, we do a notice of sale, like an RFP. We send it out to the market and we get 10 bids or 5 bids, right? It's the lowest interest rate. It's pretty easy. When you're doing something like a refunding deal, you tend to do a negotiated sale, which means the town will get an underwriter who will lead the deal. And on a certain date, we'd sign an agreement. So if the market moves away, the town can walk away. No harm, no foul. You passed a resolution, it goes away. That's why for a deal like this, we recommend a negotiated deal to avoid that. It's a great question.
Awesome. Thank you.
The markets have been moving all over the place. We readily acknowledge that. That's why we're trying to expedite this so you can get the savings right away.
Good. Thanks.
Good question. Thank you. Councilor Speraza.
Mr. Ritter, I just have a quick question. This has the potential to save us millions of dollars in bonding, correct, for the town?
Maybe not millions, but certainly hundreds of thousands based on the number of runs that we've seen. Yep.
Hundreds of thousands. So to initiate this wasn't something we were contacted. I believe this was something that our town manager sought out to see if it was possible. Is that correct?
Yep. And your FA also, your financial advisor, they're always doing number runs to see what you can refinance.
Right.
Yep.
I'm just saying, I really applaud the fact our manager reached out to try to see what we could get. And as a result, we stand to save us hundreds of thousands of dollars. So thank you very much.
Yeah. and he made it clear, like he said, on the email we got, we need it right away, and everybody wanted to help Chris. He was all over it. Yep.
Oh,
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
Great job. We've done this in the past and I was highly expecting it to be done now. Thank you.
Counselor Muller.
No questions. Thank you.
Counselor Ungary.
No questions, but good job.
Counselor
Thanks.
Hemler. Counselor Hemler.
No questions. Thank you.
Counselor Bosco.
All set. Thank you.
So again, Mr. Ritter, thank you. Just, I apologize, this may not be the best question, but what about, do we have other bonds that maybe we could look at? Or is that just specific to this deal?
You might. I mean, ultimately, that's not really what we'll do as bond counsel. Your financial advisor, Hilltop Securities, will look at it.
Okay.
Mayor, it's very possible. We've seen, by the way, a lot of towns are doing this in Connecticut. It's very possible you have a strong credit rating, but they'll keep an eye on it. And look, this environment of low interest rates will probably last for a while. I would not be surprised if in the next 12 to 18 months you did another deal. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, again, I appreciate it. Appreciate you being here as well.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Anyone else have any questions? Anyone have any questions? Chris, anything else?
No, I thank Attorney Ritter for the quick turnaround, our financial advisor, Susan Caron, and John Wilcox, as always.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Mr. Ritter, for being here. We appreciate your time.
Thanks. You too. Everybody be safe. Thanks.
Suzanne, roll call, please.
okay, somebody has to move the question.
Oh, sorry. Oh, we did. We waived the reading. We
No,
did. We waived the reading, Suzanne.
You waived the reading.
Now you need to move it.
Oh, do I have a motion
Yes.
to approve?
Motion to approve.
Deputy Mayor
Thank you.
Suzak,
Second.
by
Thank
Counselor
you.
Riley.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that.
Counselor Bosco,
4.
Counselor Sakala,
4.
Counselor Hemler,
4.
Counselor Keiner,
4,
Mayor Ludwig,
4.
Counselor Mangini,
4.
Counselor Muller,
4.
Counselor Riley,
4.
Counselor Sferrazza,
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
4.
and Counselor Ungary.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Again, thank you, Suzanne. Moving on to item 7, requested transfer of funds for community development for housing rehabilitation of $75,433. Resolved in accordance with Chapter 6, Section 8F of the Town Charter, the following transfer is hereby made. To the LG Home First Time Buyer from miscellaneous to $75,433. From LG Home Housing Rehab of Construction of $75,433. Certified the above mentioned funds are available as of June 29, 2020 by John Wilcox, our Director of Finance, and approved by our Town Manager, Christopher Bromson.
So moved.
By
Second.
Councilor Muller, seconded by Councilor Mangini. Chris, this is what we, I think, authorized back in the winter, I think, if I recall.
Correct.
We had
We
desire.
right. We
Go
had 25,000. We wanted to
Yep.
put another 75,000 in. We sought permission from the State Department of Housing. That was granted March 6th. So this is to move the $75,000 into the first-time home buyer program. Nelson is on the line. Perhaps he can just give us a quick update as to how many people so far have availed themselves of the program. Nelson, are you there?
think
Some
he's,
difficulties tonight
welcome,
getting on the
Nelson.
line. But I'm here. Yes, the first time home buyer, once we got this program up and running, we needed to request funds from, just move funds from housing rehab into the first time home buyer program income account, just so we put it up to 100,000. So we had ample money in there to proceed with the program. We currently have sold 2 homes. Tomorrow we have a loan review committee meeting for another applicant who's looking to close right here in Thompsonville on another on a 2-family. So 3 and 6 months isn't too bad, and we're looking to get another 3 by the end of the year.
Thank you, sir. Again, we'll open up the questions. Councilor Keiner.
no questions. Thank you.
Councilor Sakala.
No questions. Thank you.
Councilor Mangini.
I'm good.
Councilor Riley.
Good, thanks.
Councilor Sferrazza.
All set.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
All set.
Councilor Muller.
No questions. Thank you.
Councilor Ungary.
No questions. Thank you.
Councilor Hemler.
No questions. Thanks.
Councilor Bosco.
All set.
I'll just say, Nelson, again, this is a great program, and again, just goes to show you some of the things we're trying to do to help first-time home owners raise their family in our town and make it as, as affordable as we can be within the rules. I think this is a great transfer of money, so thank you.
Thank you.
Hearing none, roll call, please, Suzanne.
Counselor Bosco,
4.
Counselor Sakala,
4.
Counselor Hemler,
4.
Counselor Keiner,
4.
Mayor Ludwig,
4.
Counselor Mangini,
4.
Counselor Muller,
4.
Counselor Riley,
4.
Counselor Srazza,
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzan,
4.
and Counselor Ungary.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Thank you, Suzanne. Moving on to item 8, discussion resolution authorize the town manager to sign a real estate contract for the sale of 59 Garden Street. Whereas the town of Enfield owns a property known as 59 Garden Street. Whereas pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 8-24, the Planning and Zoning Commission at its August 8, 2019 meeting made a favorable recommendation to sell the property. Whereas pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 7-163E, the town council held a public hearing on September 3rd, 2019 regarding the proposed sale of the property. Whereas the town listed a property for sale, now therefore be it resolved that Christopher W. Bronson, town manager, or his designee, is authorized to sign a real estate purchase contract on behalf of the town of Enfield for the sale of 59 Garden Street to Hamlet Homes LLC. Be it further resolved that Christopher W. Bronson, town manager, or his designee is authorized to sign all documents, including the deed on behalf of the town of Enfield pertaining to the sale of the property Homes LLC, subject to review and approval by the town attorney, submitted on June 18, 2020 by the Office of Community Development.
So moved.
Oh, second.
By Councilor Muller, second by Deputy Mayor Suzak. Chris, pretty straightforward. I don't know if you have any comments.
No,
or-
I think it's another success story,
Yep.
a property that's being put back on the tax rolls. Nelson is on. I believe the sale price is $25,000. But more importantly, it's going to get it back in shape and be paying taxes to the town. So again,
Yep.
part of our blighted properties and taking properties and getting them turned around and put back on. And it serves two purposes. It helps the neighborhood and it helps the town's grand list. Nelson, do you have anything quickly to add on that?
Yeah, but I mean, this property we've had, it's been town property for 10 years. We had to demolish a burned down 3-family home on this property. The property's been sitting idle vacant. We put it on the market in October. We got a reputable builder out of Suffield who does subdivisions. They're looking to build a 2-family home, new construction on this property, and he's looking to do it rather quickly.
Thank you, Nelson.
Thank you. In the essence of a long agenda, do I have any questions that are going on from left to right? I'll try to pick and choose on the agenda. I know we've been talking about this for a while, so I anticipated not having many questions, but going once, I'm looking for hands raised. Going twice. Third time. Suzanne, roll call, please.
Counselor Bosco,
4.
Counselor Sakala,
4.
Counselor Hemler,
4.
Counselor Keiner,
4.
Mayor Ludwig,
4.
Counselor Mangini.
Abstain.
Sorry,
Abstain. I'm sorry. Abstain.
Counselor Muller,
4.
Counselor Riley,
4.
Counselor Srazza,
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
There's 10 in favor, none against, and 1 abstention.
Thank you, Suzanne. Moving on to item 10, item 9, discussion resolution referring to Planning and Zoning Commission, the proposed conveyance of town-owned land. Whereas the town of Enfield owns properties located at 26-32 Church Street and 28 South River Street. Whereas the town intends to market and sell these properties. Whereas the council must refer proposed conveyances to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a report in conformance with requirements of Connecticut General Statute 8-24. Now therefore be it resolved, the proposed conveyance of 26-32 Church Street and 28 South River Street is referred to the Planning and Zoning Commission in conformance with the requirements of Connecticut General Statute 8-24, submitted by Nelson Tereso, Deputy Economic Director, and submitted on June 18, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
By Councilor Muller, second by Councilor Mangini. Chris, I mean, I know that we've been talking about this a while, but I mean, this is good news on two blighted properties that have been, again, your comment in the last one that we've been dealing with for a long time.
Well, I think it's just a remarkable resolution. I know we did a presentation, I believe, on a manager's website, and we'll make it even more clear. We have before and after pictures. There were several buildings on each one of these properties that completely blighted the neighborhoods. They were beyond blighted. One had been burned down and just in a state of terrible disrepair. They were dangerous, and the neighbors had to put up with them for years and years. So through hard work, they're now completely torn down. We did the after. They're nice lots. We'll get them referred to planning and zoning with approval. They'll come back. Our agent will list them, and I have every confidence that we'll be successful in selling them. And we are going to make sure, because Councilor Susak has talked about this in the past, we're going to make sure we include strict timeframes, that when these are sold, that we're going to have turnaround times that are part of the contract, so that we know the construction will go up, the homes will be built, and they'll get them back in the tax rolls. The last thing we want is to sell them and have them sit empty. So that's going to be part and parcel through the town attorney, and we'll make sure that that's completed. But I think it's a great success story, and I thank everybody for their hard work, the council's commitment in actually taking the properties, Nelson's work, our 10 worst properties group. It's a lot of hard work to get these done, but boy, what a difference it's going to make to those two neighborhoods. So
Yeah, I agree. I'll give it. So I think, just in case folks want to comment, I'll go left to right. Councilor Keiner,
No questions.
Councilor Sakala,
I'm all set, thanks.
Councilor Mangini.
Just one question. Is this resolution solely to refer this item to the Planning and Zoning Commission? Is that
That's
what?
correct. That's
Okay.
correct.
correct.
Good question. To Councilor Riley,
No questions.
Councilor Sprazza,
No questions.
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
No questions, just great job, Chris.
Councilor Muller,
No questions. Thank you.
Councilor Ungary,
No questions, thanks.
Councilor Hemler.
No questions, but just a comment. This cleaning up both of these properties was just an awesome thing for my district, and I just can't thank everybody enough who was involved. Good job.
Thank you. Councilor Bosco.
Yeah, Chris, I just want to say thank you with all the stuff that's going on and all the COVID and all the other hard work and all the irons you have in the fire. I just thank you for getting all this done so we can finally get this thing put to bed.
Thank you, Joe.
And Chris, really in closing, I mean, again, like I said, people don't realize how hard it is for the town to clean up blight. I mean, this has been a multi-year process, and we followed the rules. We've had some wins, some losses, and if you want to take a look at the beauty of the Northern Connecticut River, the South River Street building getting cleared out, just what a beautiful, the Northern Connecticut River is, and it's great to see us be able to showcase that.
Agreed, Mayor. Thank you.
Suzanne, roll call, please.
Councilor Bosco,
4.
Councilor Sakala,
4.
Councilor Hemler,
4.
Councilor Keiner,
4.
Mayor Ludwig,
4.
Councilor Mangini,
4.
Councilor Muller,
4.
Councilor Riley,
4.
Councilor Sprazza,
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
4.
Councilor Ungary.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Thank you, Suzanne. Moving on to item 10, discussion resolution setting a public hearing for the conveyance of the town-owned land. Whereas the town of Enfield owns the properties located at 26-32 Church Street and 28 South River Street. Whereas the council referred this matter to the Planning and Zoning Commission, also known as the Commission, for a report in conformance with the requirements of Connecticut General Statute 8-24. Whereas the Commission will make a recommendation pursuant to the above referenced statute at its July 9, 2020 meeting. Whereas under certain conditions, Connecticut General Statute 7-163E requires a legislative body of a municipality to conduct a public hearing prior to the sale, lease, or transfer of real property owned by the municipality. Whereas due to the public health emergency, public speaking will be by written testimony only and may be submitted stating name and address to phcomments@enfield.org by 5 p.m. on July 24th, 2020. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Enfield Town Council does hereby schedule a public hearing regarding the conveyance of 26-32 Church Street and 28 South River Street to be held on August 3rd, 2020, in order to receive public comments read by Nelson Tereso, Deputy Director of Economic Development, submitted on June 18, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
By Counselor Muller, second by Counselor Sakala, or Counselor Riley, sorry. Again, it's a public hearing. I'll go, any questions in essence of time, going once, by show of hands, just show me, but twice. Seeing no questions, Suzanne, roll call, please.
Counselor Bosco,
4.
Counselor Sakala, Counselor Hemler,
4.
Counselor Keiner,
4,
Mayor Ludwig,
4.
Counselor Mangini,
4,
Counselor Muller,
4.
Counselor Riley,
4.
Counselor Sferrazza,
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
4,
Counselor Ungary.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Thank you, Suzanne. Item 11, discussion resolution to proceed in final design and referendum of the Connecticut River Access Project. Chris, before I read the resolution, I think we're
Yes.
gonna table this.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I would just say that to keep it off the table for a moment or we will table it. This is a very complicated and confusing project, at least to my mind. My mind always fills with cobwebs and my eyes glaze over when they try to explain it to me. But in any event, Kasha is working on it. Nelson's done a lot of work. The state is really pushing us. It's over a $3 million project. There was an earmark. I've been trying to understand, and Kasha sent to the council a map today that she's tried to wade in and make it comprehensible, and Nelson has done the same. The state's really pushing us to make a decision by September. But again, an old saying is act in haste, repent in leisure. We have some skin in the game, probably around 50, 60 grand, but by going forward, our commitment goes sky high to over $700,000 potential. And if ultimately it isn't approved at a referendum, or if we change our mind, a lot of that money might have to be paid back to the state and the federal government. So instead of proceeding, I think the threshold question is, we're referring it to the town attorney, Mr. Mayor, for a legal opinion. I want to know exactly what our obligation and liability is now if we don't proceed, and I want to know exactly what our obligation and liability is if we do proceed and we don't conclude later. We certainly, in these known times, and we have a lot of financial decisions and constraints coming up with the state budget, a lot of unknowns. I don't want to commit us to anything in the future that may have a very costly and negative effect. So I will ask it be tabled. We'll refer to the town attorney, and we'll do it at the August meeting, and we'll still make the September deadline. But I don't want to rush this. I think the consequences are too grave.
Yeah, agreed. So we're going to leave item 11 on the table. And again, to Chris's point, to refer to the town attorney, we'll have more discussion in August. Moving on to item 12, discussion resolution to authorize carry forward of unspent funds for the United Way Suicide Prevention Grant. Whereas the state of Connecticut provided funding to the Youth Service Division. Whereas the Youth Services received approval to extend the implementation of United Way Suicide Prevention Grant through September 2020 due to the COVID-19 crisis. Resolved that the Director of Finance is authorized to reappropriate any unspent fund for the fiscal year 1920 to United Way Suicide Prevention Grant budget into fiscal year 2021, submitted on June 12, 2020 by Cindy Guerreri, Director of Social Services.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah.
By Counselor Muller and second by Deputy Mayor Suzak. Yeah, I mean, Chris, pretty straightforward, just allocating money because of COVID. Yep.
Correct.
So very,
Cindy,
very important service.
Pretty straightforward. They need authorization to reappropriate the unspent funds and carry them over.
So again, I'll look for by anyone want to ask a question, I'll look going once, by show me any hand raised. Yeah, twice. Anyone have a question? Going third time. Seeing none, Suzanne, roll call, please.
Counselor Bosco,
4.
Counselor Sakala, Counselor Sakala, can you hear me?
She's just rejoining.
Thank you.
Counselor Sakala, you're for again. Sorry, I know you're having some technical problems.
Yeah, no, it kicked me out. So 4, if we're on the,
United Way.
yeah, yes, 4.
Thank
Thank
you. Counselor Hemler,
4.
Counselor Keiner,
4.
Mayor Ludwig,
4.
Counselor Mangini.
4.
Counselor Muller,
4.
Counselor Riley,
4.
Counselor Srazza,
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Thank you, Suzanne. Moving on to item 13, discussion resolution adopting the adult and community social worker job description. Resolved that in accordance with Chapter 7, Section 2 of the Town Charter, the Enfield Town Council does hereby adopt the job description for adult and community social worker submitted on June 26, 2020 by Steve Belinda, our Director of Human Resources.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Muller, second by Counselor Riley. Chris, I think Cindy's on.
Yes, and
Yep.
I think it would merit a brief
Yep.
discussion by Cindy. We talked about this at her last presentation. And again, we try not to just keep things static. We encourage all of our directors and our staff to look at positions and see if they can be better suited when we have vacancies or moved around to better suit the needs in our ever-changing times. And this is one that Cindy identified. She's worked with Steve Belinda to come up with the attached job description. I'll let her give you a little quick overview. Cindy?
Cindy, just quickly, your name and job title. Welcome. Sorry, Cindy, you have the floor. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know if we'll be able to reach her, Mr. Mayor. I know
Okay,
we've
no worries.
looked.
Yep.
She gave a report last night. Basically, we're vacating one social worker job description and creating an adult and community social worker. The purposes of this is to reflect the needs in the community based on what is happening now. They will work on site with they call it lived experience with our police department and EMS to try to interject and do some systemic help. The unions reviewed it. It's a really innovative change, and I would ask that you accept it maybe at another time. She can come back and explain it.
Thank you, Chris. So we'll move again. If you're not, please be unmuted if you're not speaking. There's some background noise. Starting left to right, Counselor Keiner.
No questions.
Counselor Sakala.
I mean, I don't know if Cindy's on here, but I guess my only question is, are we like eliminating a social worker position and then adding this one, or is this going to do double duty? What was this position earmarked for originally? Was it for the schools? Was it for ERFC? Was it for the kids? Like, I guess those are my questions.
We are vacating one of the social worker jobs. She made mention last time it wasn't one that we was any, I believe, of the aforementioned to reduce services that we're currently offering that are critical. It was more of a vacated and creating the new adult, but I'd have to defer to her specifically because she worked with Steve on it, and I don't think she's able to join us.
Yeah, I guess I would want to know what this social worker position is for. But I mean, if she's not on here to answer, then I guess I'm not
Nope.
going to give an answer. Okay.
Counselor Mangini. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, Counselor Sakala, go ahead.
No, I'm done. They can't answer my question, so I can't vote for it.
Chris, is it possible that Cindy could follow up to Gina's question?
Well, I mean, maybe you just want to keep it on the table. I don't think it's something that Cindy, I don't think it's something that she would have ever recommended if she were going to jeopardize existing services. I know that much, but she's working with Steve. So if there's not a comfort level on that basis, we can always table it. It's whatever the pleasure of the council. I don't think this isn't time sensitive.
Counselor Mangini.
Yes, thank you. I have to agree with Counselor Sakala. She just voiced my concerns exactly. And if it's possible, I would suggest that we table until we get more detail from our social services director, because I have the same concerns that Gina just pointed out. So I have a problem with that. Thank you.
That's fine, Mayor. We can just table it. We can take it up in August.
Right. So Counselor Riley.
Yeah, we can table it if we need questions answered. I'd rather have everybody know full well what they're voting for than not.
Okay, Counselor Scarrazza.
If everybody wants to table it, that's fine. I can tell you firsthand, I witnessed having the DCF worker outsourced in the police department building. And there's so many issues that overlap. To have that resource there was great for the department. And I envision social services would overlap too. And that would be another asset for the department and for the community. So I support it. But if people want to table it, I'll go along with that.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
I think we should table. Do we need a motion to table?
Well, we go through what everyone has.
Right, but we'll need a motion, correct?
Counselor Muller.
No questions. Thank you.
Counselor O'Hara.
I'm fine with tabling it until we can hear a little bit more information.
Counselor Hemler.
I'm in agreement. Table it until we get more information. Thanks.
Counselor Bosco.
I'm good either way.
So Chris, I know Cindy's having some technical. If you're okay, I guess we'll have a motion to table, unless Cindy.
Yes, I'd be more
Motion to
comfortable.
table.
Sorry, who's that motion from?
I'll second.
Me.
By Deputy Mayor Suzak, second by
Yes.
Counselor Mangini. All those in favor of tabling item 13 by show, just say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? 11 in favor, 0 against. It'll be on our August meeting. Moving
Thank
on to
you.
item
And
four-
it might
four-
be Cindy that we're getting feedback from. I don't know.
I think
if
so,
that's
I think it
connected.
is.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. So
I don't know
perhaps
if
if,
we can.
yeah, I think perhaps Cindy, if you're trying to get on, there's no need. I don't think you have any other agenda items. So thank you and for your efforts. But please sign off because it's disrupting the rest of our audio. Thank you. Paul, if you can.
I just had to mute everybody just so, because it wasn't identifying anything. So everybody's on mute right now.
Okay.
And unmute yourself to come back on. That'll be appreciated because I couldn't
So-
find her. Or
Thank you, Paul. Moving on to item 14, discussion resolution regarding acceptance of streets constructed as part of the River Overlook subdivision. Whereas on January 3rd, 2006, the Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission, also known as Commission, approved the subdivisions known as River Overlook (PH number 2479). Whereas as a condition of such approval, the developer is required to convey the town the street known as First Settlers Row, along with the related 2 drainage easements, a sewer easement, a conservation easement within the subdivision. And whereas the Director of Public Works has confirmed that First Settlers Row complies with the town standards and is therefore suitable for acceptance of the town street. Whereas on June 25th, 2020, pursuant to its authority in the Connecticut General Statutes 8-24, the commission voted unanimously to recommend acceptance of First Settlers Row. Whereas the developer has submitted to the town for acceptance and filing a statutory form warranty deed for First Settlers Row and associated street and public improvements within the subdivision. Whereas the deeds were reviewed by the town attorney in the fall of 2019 and have been modified per their instructions. Now therefore be it resolved, the Enfield Town Council does hereby accept and will record the following documents related to the River Overlook subdivision. Item 1, statutory form warranty deed dated November 26, 2019. Submitted on June 26, 2020 by Lori Witten, our Director of Development Services.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Muller, second by Councilor Mangini. Kind of, Chris, what we built on last meeting, simply accepting roads.
That's correct. It's been signed off by Mr. Nunes and Lori Witten as well.
Lori, I don't know if there's anything, I think Lori's on. Is she on? Is there anything she would like to say since she's done? She can. If not, again, by an essence of time, by show, is there anyone who would like to have any questions? Raise your hand going once. Raise your hand going, again, that's online, raising your hand, going twice. Third time, Suzanne, roll call, please. We're having all kinds of fun tonight. Did Suzanne get booted?
No,
I guess I'm muted.
You're up, Suzanne. Roll call.
Okay. Counselor Bosco,
Four.
Kala, oh. Counselor Hemler,
4.
Counselor Keiner,
4.
Mayor Ludwig,
4.
Counselor Mangini,
4.
Counselor Muller,
4.
Counselor Riley,
4.
Counselor Sferrazza,
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Thank you, Suzanne. Moving on to item 15, resolution regarding acceptance of roads within River Meadows 2 subdivision. Whereas on February 1, 2007, the Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission, also known as Commission, approved a subdivision known as River Meadows 2, PH number 2526. Whereas as a condition of such approval, the developer is required to convey to the town the streets known as River Cliff Lane and Meeting House Lane, along with a related sewer easement. Whereas the Director of Public Works has confirmed that both River Cliff and Meeting House Lanes compiles with town standards and therefore suitable for acceptance as a town street. Whereas on June 25th, 2020, pursuant to its authority in the Connecticut General Statutes 8-24, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted unanimously to recommend acceptance of River Cliff Lane and Meeting House Lane. And whereas the developer has submitted to the town for acceptance and filing a statutory form warranty deed for River Cliff Lane and Meeting House Lane and the related sewer easement, whereas the deeds were reviewed by the town attorney in the fall of 2019, have been modified per their instructions. Now therefore be resolved, the Enfield Town Council does hereby accept and will record the following documents related to River Meadows subdivision. Item 1, statutory form warranty deed dated February 28th, 2020, submitted on June 26, 2020 by Lori Witten, Director of Development Services.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Muller, seconded by Councilor Mangini. Again, just what we passed the item before. In the essence of time, does anyone have any questions? Please raise your hand online. Going once. Going twice. Seeing none, Suzanne, roll call, please.
Counselor Bosco,
4.
Counselor Sakala,
4.
Counselor Hemler,
4.
Keiner,
4.
Mayor Ludwig,
4.
4.
Counselor Muller,
4.
Counselor Riley,
4.
Counselor Sferrazza,
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Thank you, Suzanne. Moving on to item 16, discussion resolution authorizing the town manager to submit an application to the state of Connecticut for the 2020 Neighborhood Assistance Act. Whereas a virtual public hearing was held on July 6, 2020 to allow interested citizens an opportunity to express their opinion regarding the programs, which programs shall be included in the town of Enfield's application and the provisions of the Neighborhood Assistance Act. Whereas due to the public health emergency, public speaking was written testimony only, and electors or taxpayers were instructed to submit their written testimony stating name and address on phcomments@enfield.org by 5 p.m. on Monday, June 29, 2020. Whereas the Enfield electors and taxpayers were offered a link to view any public comment received to be posted at least 24 hours prior to the public on the town's website. Whereas 2 proposals were submitted by the Hasville Institute Conservancy Society, Inc. and the Opera House Players, Inc. Whereas the following proposals were accepted by the Enfield Town Council within the guidelines for proposed programs under the Neighborhood Assistance Act. Now therefore be it resolved that 1, the town of Enfield 2020 proposed program applications be submitted to the State Connecticut Department of Revenue under provision of the Neighborhood Assistance Act and shall consist of the proposals identified in the preceding paragraph. Item 2, the Enfield Town Manager is hereby authorized to submit these applications to the State Department of Revenue and to approve any donations received as a result of this application prepared on July 1, 2020.
So moved.
By Councilor Muller.
Second.
Councilor Mangini. Chris, I don't know if you or Lori would like to comment on this.
Well, basically, this was the subject of the previous public hearing we had at the beginning of the meeting. The applications are for the Opera House Players and the Hazardville Institute. We've done this every year, and this is the process. So it's just authorizing me to submit the application to the state for this 2020 Neighborhood Assistance Act.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, Councilor Keiner, left to right. Councilor Keiner.
No question, sir. Thank you.
Counselor Sakala,
No questions, thank you.
Counselor Mangini,
I'm good, thank you.
Counselor Riley,
No questions.
Counselor Sprazza,
I'm all set, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
I'm all set.
Counselor Muller,
No questions. Thank you.
Counselor Ungary,
No questions, thanks.
Counselor Hemler,
No questions, thank you.
Counselor Bosco.
All set.
Suzanne, roll call, please.
Counselor Bosco,
4.
Counselor Sakala,
4.
Counselor Himmler,
4.
Counselor Keiner,
4.
Mayor Ludwig,
4.
Counselor Mangini,
4.
Counselor Muller,
4.
Counselor Riley,
4.
Counselor Sferrazza,
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
4.
Counselor Ungar.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Thank you, Suzanne. Discussion resolution item 17, authorizing the town manager to submit a targeted grant application and enter an agreement with the Connecticut State Library and Scanoptics for the Historical Documents Preservation Grant. Resolved that Christopher W. Bronson, town manager, is empowered to execute and deliver in a name and on behalf of the municipality an application for a targeted grant for fiscal year 2021 and a contract with the Connecticut State Library and Scanoptics for a historical documents preservation grant subject to review and approval by the town attorney, prepared by Susan Olnicki, town clerk, on June 22nd, 2020.
So moved.
By Counselor
Second.
Muller, second by Counselor Riley. You know, Chris, I don't know if Suzanne, I mean, this is a great program. I don't know if Suzanne wants to give you or Suzanne. wanna give an
Suzanne
update?
can give if she would like to give a brief overview. It's for $7,500. We've been doing it annually, and it will continue the process of digitalizing and indexing various plans and drawings for both the building and engineering departments. Suzanne, would you like to add anything?
I would like to add that engineering and building are really very pleased with this project. They're very happy about it. So that's the outcome we want.
Well
Agreed.
said, Suzanne. Again, just in case, I'll give, I think this, in case another question, moving left to right, Counselor Keiner,
No questions, thank you.
Counselor Sakala,
No questions, thanks.
Counselor Mangini,
Nope, thank you.
Counselor Riley.
The only question I have is the scanning, does that allow the public to view the documents too, or is that just internally?
The different departments can make the documents available to the public, but they don't have access to it without permission from the departments.
All right, great, thank you.
Counselor Sprazza,
All set.
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
I'm all set, thank you.
Counselor Muller,
All set. Thank you.
Counselor Ungary,
No questions, thanks.
Counselor Hemler,
All set, thank you.
Counselor Bosco.
I'm good.
And Suzanne, just one quick question. How many departments are already done? And what do you, I mean, I know our goal is to eventually get all departments, but just to give people an update. I know you've been doing this for a number of years.
We have been, yes, and we've managed to weed out a lot of duplicate maps, things like that. It's been helpful that way. I'll be honest, we just talked about how much longer this project could go on for these two departments, and in a way, it's almost endless. But we'll get them through this year, and then I think we'll take a step back and see how much more we should do with a grant, or maybe start to fund it by the town.
Great. Thank you, Suzanne. Any other questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Bosco,
4.
Oh, how cute.
4 if you're asking me, Suzanne, but I.
I was, thank you. Counselor Hemler,
4.
Counselor Keiner,
4.
Mayor Ludwig,
4.
Counselor Mangini,
4.
Counselor Muller,
4.
Counselor Riley,
4.
Counselor Sferrazza,
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Thank you, Suzanne. Moving on to item 18, discussion of transfer station. I'll turn over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is Donald Nunes is on the line. This is obviously something that has been of concern to the council, brought up in the last budget and thereafter by Donna Susak. And Bill Kiner. We had a presentation by Doug Maxellin, I think, last year. So we know there is a need. What I'm simply requesting this evening, and Donald will give a brief overview. We don't have to get into the weeds on it. We'll have plenty of opportunity for more robust conversation, but we know the general parameters of what we have to do out there. We know the amount could range anyway from $300,000 to $500,000. There's some different variables. Donald has been in touch with the water company in regard to a water line, whether we need fire protection, which is obviously about $150,000 increase in the cost. Perhaps we don't. There's a 2-inch hookup there. We're also going to be talking to the fire chief out there, Eddie Richards. Donald has reached out. We don't have to cross the bridge of Joe Bosco's favorite subject, 1 scale versus 2. That's about a $70,000 item one way or the other. What we're simply asking is that in this past budget, which just went into effect July 1st, we did increase the amount of money in the Public Works budget for engineering and architectural so that we could look at some of these projects, even though we couldn't do them right away. So we're asking, he had already gone out, he already is prepared to go out. Donald is going to elaborate a little bit. It's a $43,000 cost to actually go out for design. And, when talking to the deputy mayor, she very appropriately and sagely said, once we even start to do this, it takes 6 to 8 months with permitting, with DEEP and all the other things we need to do. So this is a proactive step that by taking this step to look at it and really firm things up, that by actually next June and before the next budget, we're not committing any funds here or what the final design or costs will be, but we'll be in a position to strike so that if we are able next year, that if we then fund it, we'll be able to go out to bid and start it right away. Because, all of her experience on joint facilities and with the roads projects and buildings, there's a lot of lead time. We just went out to do the dam work, and we're going out now, and we'll get the different bids in, and we won't even be ready to start that, even though we budgeted almost $500,000 for it July 1st till next summer. So I took her advice to heart. Also listened to the other council members, Bill Kiner. The whole council has concerns that we want to improve the situation out there, and I think this is just one step moving forward, recognizing that we want to be ready to take advantage and put this as a priority in the next budget. Donna, would you like to add anything before councilors?
Yeah,
Chris. Welcome, Donald.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so DPW did solicit some for designers through our on-call consultants. We got 3 back. The lowest bidder was from Anchor Engineering at $43,000, and that's to provide all the construction documents necessary to do the work. Whether it's, again, like Chris said, 1 scale or 2 scale, that doesn't matter at this point. But it is going to take quite some time to get through DEP. Knowing the proximity of where the landfill was and just confirming the mapping and doing borings and all the other kind of things like that. The design itself will not take that long. It's just getting through deep permitting is going to take the time, which will put us in a very favorable spot in February, March when folks are looking for work to do. We can get bidded out, at that time and take it from there. Regarding the water, I did have a long conversation today with Bob Sherwood from Hazardville Water. And he told me that during the Town Farm Road construction, which I was not part of, that would happen before I got here, that there is actually a 2-inch corporation off the main, and there's a 2-inch curb stop with a leave out. So we already have 2-inch water at the site, at Town Farm Road, next to the fire hydrant. I also asked him, is a 2-inch line going to be enough due to the run? It's about 1,500 feet away. And I was concerned about pressures and volume, and they did some calculations when we were on the phone, and he said we should not have any issues with pressure and volume. So that's another score for us in that regard. I had a long conversation today with Chief Richards and Captain Ellis about supply and when kind of how they can handle it, what they could do with a 2-inch line, and they were thrilled because they have no lines now. So they were happy with the 2-inch line. I'm working with, again, Captain Ellis to get the exact hydrant that he could hook into to, again, if we have to use it as a fill area in case of a bigger fire, or again, he can use it to put out a car fire or a dumpster fire or the like. So we've seemed to have crossed all those major hurdles, again, with water
and with fire, and I think we're ready to go at this time. It's just a function of getting going and starting the process. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Donald.
Thank you, Donald.
So moving left to right, Counselor Keiner.
Yeah, just a couple of questions. Chris, what we're talking about, and Don, what we're talking about basically is improvements or renovations to the scale house. Is that right? We're not talking about adding scales or anything else. It's the scale house that we're talking about for the most part. Is that right?
No, Counselor, I believe it includes a full encompassing kind of renovation to the area. Moving the scale house to a better location.
But okay.
But
I guess what I'm saying is, but it would include the scale house, and that is obviously very essential. And I've got to applaud your efforts, Don, and certainly Chris, for listening to us and moving forward and providing a safer work environment for these DPW workers. So again, I applaud your efforts, and I look forward to this project reaching fruition in the near future. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
You're on mute, Mike. Did you tell me it was my turn?
Yeah, Counselor Sakala. See, it was good. I was on
assume.
mute. You could have your turn. Sorry about that.
So I mean, I'm excited. I think we should do this. I mean, we've been on this train for a little bit of time, and I know that there's been some pretty vocal advocates for this transfer station to get done, and we've been trying to get it done for quite some time. I guess my only question is, Donald, you were just talking about this 2-inch line and them being happy with it. Are they happy because they don't have one, or are they happy because the 2-inch line is going to be adequate in what they need?
Well, 2-inch line will provide them with some small scale firefighting, if you will. So if a dumpster goes up or a car goes up, they'll be able to use that. But again,
Right.
if the woods were up in flames, or the mulch pile, the leaf pile went up, they couldn't get to it anyways because it's too far away. So they will be used as that. So they were thrilled. I mean, obviously they'll have to have a 6 or an 8-inch, main going up there, but it's, that cost is almost triple, what, a 6-inch ductile iron main is almost triple with what, a 2-inch plastic line. Now, typically we've put in 2-inch copper in the past, but Hazardville Water has switched over to a HDPE product. So we don't have to use copper, which is about $4 to $5 a foot. This stuff is less than $1 a foot for material cost, and working with it is a lot easier. So that's really helped on some of that cost. So again, that 2-inch line, Chief Richards and Captain Ellis were thrilled because they have none now, and they were thrilled with it too. So
Right. So I guess what do they need there? Is a 2-inch line what is normal and what they need? I mean, because listen, I don't know the answer. That's why I'm asking you. And if we're going to do it, I'd rather give them what's necessary than do something just because it costs less and find out that it's not adequate and need to redo it later.
Again, we don't have to completely make a determination. What we wanted to do is reach out to see what the minimal requirements would be. And we don't want the, perfect to be the enemy of the good. If they're thrilled, then I'm thrilled. We can always revisit it. It doesn't really affect what we're doing this evening in the design stage to go forward. But I think it's probably, obviously, if money were no object, we could do a lot of things. But I think that we're trying to be conservative, even though we saved hopefully some good amount of money this evening. I don't want to squander it. So this is just the beginning stage, and we can address those, I think, issues in more particularity as we proceed. And we always include our fire chiefs and our fire marshals in the discussion. So that's why we wanted to reach out, so we sort of had a sense this evening of where we were going. But that differential right there is about $150,000. And as Councilor Keiner said, if possible, as long as it addresses the basic needs and the fire department is okay with it, I'd rather spend it on perhaps a little more of the amenities to assist our workers with the conditions out there than on, a 2-inch, a 4-inch, a 6-inch. If they can live with the 2 and we can save $150,000, do a better job on the building and some of those amenities, I would rather spend it there. But again, nothing's cast in concrete yet. This is just, as the Director of Public Works said, it's our first step forward in trying to get this project done in a reasonable period of time.
No, I understand that, and I'm not arguing with you, Chris, but it's under items for discussion, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna discuss it, and that was one of my questions, and
Yep.
he answered it, which was, do we need a 2-inch line or do we need something larger? He can be thrilled with a 2-inch line because he doesn't have anything, which is exactly what Donald said. But if they're just thrilled because they have something and that's not adequate to what they need, that's my question. So
Well,
you guys answered it, which is fine.
No, I
And
thought he
that's-
answered it
He did.
appropriately, but you know, my experience with the fire departments, if they're thrilled, then it's usually more than what they indicated, because they're not shy in speaking up if they're not happy. So I just didn't want to beat a dead horse.
Then I guess I'll have no more questions.
Thank you, Councilman Genie.
Yes, thank you. I definitely support moving forward on this project. But Chris, is it possible that you or Donald could prepare a brief outline, send it to council as to what exactly will be step one with this project and ballpark of the dollars? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about this evening. It's $43,000 to go out and do the design phase. That's what we're talking about this evening. And then the other numbers will come from that, and then we'll bring it back to council once we get a better idea on what the cost and the different variables and options that can go with it. Like you say, I mean, we can make this, it can go from a Chevrolet, we could, you know, go all the way up to a Rolls Royce. But I think the important thing is we do listen. We try to take, you know, into account the concerns that our employees have as well as the council. And we're just trying to be proactive here. I mean, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day, but I think this is a good first step.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just wanted to have some sort of visual at some point. But you said you're getting to that, correct?
Well, that's what this is about, doing the design.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Riley.
This is great. I'm glad that we can at least move on something. My only question is the $43,000. Does that include or not include deep permitting fees, or are there deep permitting fees?
Everything that is required is part of that 43,000 to get through deep, to get through IWWA and any other permits. It was all inclusive.
Perfect. That's good news. Thank you.
Yes, very good news.
Councilor Speraza.
I would just say I certainly support this. I mean, you know, it's unfortunate we don't have the money right now to do the whole project, but I want to get it done as soon as possible. This gets us closer to where we need to go. So I would support it 100%.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Suzak.
I'm really excited to hear this. I'm sure Facilities Committee will be excited. Now, will this go through DPW for working with the design team, staff, or go back to facilities?
I haven't thought that through, Deputy Mayor. I don't know. Maybe that's something we can work out.
Because I find that, you know, sometimes we get them in as a very committed committee, they can, you know, keep pushing everything along so that we have everything and it's vetted a little bit more before it comes to the council. Thank you.
Councilor Muller.
I think this is a good idea, and I'll support this project. Thank you.
Councilor Ungary.
Yes, I'm excited to see the progression of this. As Mr. Brobson said, we're still in the preliminary stages of our conversation, so I don't want to get hung up in details or the weeds. But that being said, Mr. Noon said that Anchor was the lowest bid. So I was wondering, you know, at another time, will we be informed as to what the other bids were and what the differences were between them all?
Well, Councilor Ungary, they range from 43,000 up to 126,000, I believe, to do, that's just to do the design. So there was the one that was really high, just didn't really understand the project. So I think they also were busy, and they were just really way out of the ballpark. The third one, which I don't remember the cost was around 60-something thousand. And again, they put some more in areas that I don't believe that they needed. So Anchor Engineering's been around for a while. I've got nothing but good reviews for them. So that, again, the 43,000, I feel comfortable with them.
Okay, well,
Counselor Hemler,
No questions, thank you.
Counselor Bosco.
Well, you make me happier. I mean, the water main was one of the first things that I complained about. I said we need to get away with a 2-inch main. So at least now we're looking at things to share, to save some costs. But I definitely really want to insist this needs to come to DPW so we can hash out some stuff. I mean, joint facilities is great, but they don't have construction experience, and we do in DPW. So, and it doesn't hurt to have another set of eyes onto something. So I really want this thing coming back to DPW. I will support this tonight, but again, I want to see it at DPW.
And I will just say that we certainly welcome any help and expertise, and both of the committees are hardworking people. So if they want to help us and they want to review and give input, we certainly will accommodate that. And we can work out those logistics as we go forward. But both committees do an incredible job, and we will certainly talk to them and let them review before we come back to the council, because it saves time and it gives us a better product. So we certainly will avail ourselves of that offer, Mr. Bosco.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's possible, but I think the best way to do it is have both committees working in conjunction. And I think that will work a lot better. Like when we had the roofs meeting, I was sitting in there and we had some different ideas. So I think that if we could possibly do the two committees in conjunction, it would save a lot of time from jumping from one committee to the other. And I think we'll get our best results.
Thank you, Counselor Bosco. Donald, anything else? Anything else, sir?
I do not, Mayor. Thank you.
Chris, anything else on this, Chris?
No, I just think it's a good step forward. I think it's an important project. And again, we'll give them priorities. We'll be in a good position, for next year when we know where we stand and what's happening with the state and our budget, but we'll be ready to strike it if it's something hopefully we've seen, like the bonds and with Kerma. Even though these are extraordinary times, there are some benefits in regard to competition and lower rates and construction costs. So hopefully we'll be in a position to take advantage of that.
No, I agree. Well done, Chris and Donald. Any other questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Wait. No, I have a comment. I just want to let you guys know Cindy she could hear everything. She emailed me a couple of answers.
Oh,
for the
sorry,
record.
Go ahead, Counselor Sakala. So Han, Suzanne?
Yes.
So just we tabled it. Just want to make sure we do. Gina, you'll have the floor. Hold on. I don't want to cut you off. Do we need a motion to bring it off the table?
Yes.
So Gina, can you make a motion to take item 13, resolution adopting the adult community and social worker job off the table?
Do we need to do that if we're just discussing it?
I think we do because
I would probably do. All right, then I make a motion to remove that
second
item from the table.
Motion by Counselor Zakala, seconded by Counselor Mangini. Just by say aye, please move back. All those in favor of moving, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So Gina, go ahead. You have the floor.
I want to just put it out there because I was the one that asked the questions. She did email me. I guess she could hear everything, just whatever feedback was happening, she couldn't speak. I specifically asked because I was asking if it was earmarked for the schools or if we were like eliminating one position and adding another. Really, they're just updating the current position to make it what the need is. I guess the current description is more therapeutic, and that's not what they need in this role. The position is at 110 High Street, and it's, I guess, I'm trying to go through all of the emails she did sent me. The staff person, I guess, is also a liaison or a staff person to the shelter diversion program. I don't know. It's not earmarked for the schools, which was what my concern was. We're not eliminating position. We're just updating it to show the current need. So
So
I don't
you,
know if that answers anybody else's questions or if I was really just the one that had questions, but
are you
put it
okay
out
voting
there.
on it tonight, or you still want to wait till
I
August?
am, now that she's answered my questions. That being said, she only answered my questions. I don't know if anybody else had questions, so I don't want to handcuff
Yep.
anybody else into voting.
So before I open it up, I can reread Suzanne, I'll reread the resolution. Does that work? And then we'll see if people would like to vote on it. Does that work,
Yes,
Suzanne? Just want to make sure.
that's fine.
Okay. Again, so on our agenda, item 13, a resolution adopting the adult and community social worker job description. Resolve that in accordance with chapter 7, section 2 of the town charter. The Enfield Town Council does hereby adopt the job description for adult and community social worker submitted on June 26, 2020 by Steve Belinda, the Director of Human Resources. We have a second
moved.
by Councilor Muller. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
By Councilor Riley. So again, Councilor Sakala had the floor. Are you okay? Before I move, I'll go left to right.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Councilor Keiner, are you okay with voting tonight, or would you like?
Yes,
to wait
I
till
am.
August?
Thank you, sir.
Councilor Mangini.
You know, I will vote in the affirmative, but I do not like the way this came down. I would much have preferred to see or heard from our director prior to, you know, being asked to vote on this, quite frankly. And I know that there's some email floating around. Unfortunately, I don't have access to my town email when I'm doing this. So I don't know what the email says. But, you know, in good faith and trusting our town manager and our social service director, I'm going to vote for it. Obviously, I just don't like the procedure. Thank you.
Councilor Riley.
I'm all set. No questions.
Councilor Speraza.
Yeah, I think we need to go forward. I'm good with this.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
I'm ready to go forward with it. Thank you.
Councilor Muller.
I'm ready to go forward with it as well. Thank you.
Councilor Ungary.
I'm ready to move forward.
Councilor Hemler.
I'm ready to move forward as well.
Councilor Bosco.
I'm good.
And again, thank you, Councilor Sakala, for speaking up. Suzanne, roll call, please.
Counselor Bosco,
4.
Counselor Sakala,
4.
Counselor Hemler,
4.
Counselor Keiner,
4.
Mayor Ludwig,
4.
Counselor Mangini,
4.
Counselor Muller,
4.
Counselor Riley,
4.
Counselor Speraza,
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak,
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
There's 11 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Thank you, Suzanne. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Councilor Muller.
Second.
Second by Councilor Riley. All those in favor by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good night, everyone.
Have a
Thank
good
you. Have
night.
a great night.
Good night.
Good
Thank
stuff.
you.